And
Okay, I'm Madeline Sprinkle, and I'm dyslexic. And I go to a small little school here in Drain, Oregon. You probably don't even know where that's at.
and what grade are you in?
I'm a junior this year.
Junior this year. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, can you give us the background? When were you diagnosed with dyslexia?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed in third grade, but I did like they knew there was something wrong with me since like ever since I went to school. So it was just kind of that journey of trying to figure out what was it.
What were some of the challenges you were facing while you were going through school that made that noticeable?
Definitely like a reading group. I was put in like a grade below me's reading group. So I was like in the special class, where it was just a small little group of us and we weren't the best and we were kind of had more time going over things than like it was yeah.
I was in that reading group too, so.
I think all of us were.
um, well, so then you were diagnosed in third grade. Were you given accommodations at that point, or what was that process like?
Yeah, so I was tested like by the school first and then we went to like a private tester to like get like an actual diagnosis because the school couldn't do that for us. So after that, it was just kind of like what how we have a name but like how do we fix it type thing or like how do we make it better? And so it was kind of like the journey from there, like what do we do next? So I think kind of like my mom spent a lot of time like reading books and like a lot of research, so like we did get like accommodations. Like my mom made my spelling list for me, and I had like a reader during like tests or like a writer. But like those were kind of like just like the basic accommodations like at first until like we've like found you guys and like found the dyslexia group and then like kind of like went like technology and went from there.
So going back to like when you first got accommodations, how was that process? Was it awkward in school, or were you
Oh,
just
it
down?
definitely was. I didn't want to be like the different kid, so I always had like if I needed help on like a test or something, I would always ask to be like moved to a different room so like people didn't have to see me getting help or like being different.
So were you able to kind of hide through the system, or was
Yeah,
it?
kind of. Yeah. At first, I kind of told like my class, like a few people in my class, because I was excited to have like a diagnosis. But then, like once people like made fun of me a little bit, I was like shy to tell them.
How can you go into how they were kind of making fun of you, or with
It
that?
was like just kind of like the stigmas, like you get your D's and your B's mixed up, like those things, because like third graders.
Uh, so then how was it like when you finally connected with a group that with the student panel, because you're a member of the student panel, like
Yeah,
how was that, like was that a total shift in?
yeah. It was like I've met the group when I was in fifth grade, so like there was like 2 years where I kind of felt like alone, and so like
Yeah.
there's where the bracelet comes in, you're not alone. So I kind of felt like once I found them, like I wasn't alone and I wasn't like the weird kid anymore, and I wasn't like the only one who couldn't read or like spell right or had like sloppy handwriting, and like the one who was going through these accommodations who had kind of like similar stories to me, and it was good to find them.
I bet. Going back really quick, like as you were kind of alone in this battle, what were some of the things? Did you have any coping mechanisms, or did you have things that helped during that time, or was it a rough
Mm,
patch?
it was kind of a rough patch. I went during like the time where like I didn't use like technology. We were finding like different tutors and stuff like that. But like for like things, I had like a lot of anxiety
Okay.
during those times. I do now, but different. I know how to deal with it a little more.
You got some coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so those that are just joining, thank you so much. We're with Madalyne. We are talking about how she was just diagnosed with dyslexia in the third grade, and she was getting some accommodations, but she has now gotten to the point where she's met with the student panel. She has people in her tribe right now. Madalyne, can you tell the story? You have a great story about advocacy, because this group is about advocacy and being a
Yeah.
self-advocate. But can you talk about that story and tell
Yeah.
people?
So, I don't really like to be like different, or like I don't like to stand out in the crowd as a different girl. So, um, I just like this was last year when I was a sophomore, and we were reading this book in language arts class where everybody had a different part, and this like kind of like a month prior we had an IEP meeting where all my teachers knew I would not be reading out loud in class. It was a fear of mine. We made it very clear and very what I thought was clear that that I would not be reading in class and that I would do that on my own time. And so we were reading this book and it was a poem. Everyone had their own parts and the teacher gave me a part, the smallest part in the whole book. So I just thought that maybe whenever it was my part, she was just going to read it for me, like, because she didn't have a part, that's probably we're going to work like a team, you know? So a couple of weeks go by, we're reading the book in class, and I know it's my day because I just had anxiety piece. I know it's my day. I'm kind of freaking out all morning. I go into class and it's a substitute. And so there I am, the girl who doesn't like to look different. I go up to the substitute. I gain my self-confidence. I go up to the substitute and I'm like, my name's Madalyne Sprinkle. I'm on an IEP and I don't read out loud, so is it okay if you read my part for me? And she was like, yeah, she was all for it. And so a little bit later, we start reading. My part comes up and she's like, whose part is it? And the class kind of, Madalyne's part. And I'm like, oh, I forgot my book. Can you read it for me? And she's like, oh, you forgot your book? Hands me her book. Then at that point, I just kind of shut down. I text my mom frantically. And then a few minutes later, the class behind me, Madalyne, you can't read. Madalyne, what's the teacher going to say when you get back? You're going to be in so much trouble. You're going to have a detention. And then a couple more minutes go by. The teacher's trying to make me read. And then I hear, Madalyne, Sprinkle to the office, please. And my mom kind of dipped me out of the situation. And she was at the school in like 5 minutes.
What a superhero.
Yeah.
So have you been, well, I have so many questions actually on this topic. Let's start with, have you been able to advocate for yourself since that point? Because I know that that's a challenge, and then to kind of get railroaded in that situation, have you been able to come back from that?
Yeah, kind of. I haven't been put in another situation that intense yet, but after that happened, we kind of had another meeting and we're like, look, she is not confident in the way she reads. She hasn't really been taught how to read again, and like she uses other like reading ways to read
Right.
because she can't really read. And so like my mom always talks about like this, my teacher having like an aha moment like once, like at one of the meetings, and he was like, there was this place where I had to write my answer and there was a bubble question and the answers were the same, but in the answer question I got it wrong. And then when I explained myself, because I'm not graded on spelling or handwriting, when I explained myself, I got it 100% right. And she was like, all these words, they look the same, she's not reading the answer. And so like once I kind of got a hold of like grasp like what it was, like I kind of like every substitute that came in, my principal would send them like my slideshow email thing that's like, these is her accommodation. They would tell them before they came in, and usually like the teacher would leave a note, and if there was that, I would advocate for myself, but I haven't had that experience yet.
Those experiences hang with us longer than I think people
Yeah.
realize. Those, because reading, you're in the most vulnerable situation as a dyslexic when you're reading out loud for most of us. You
Yeah.
know, there are dyslexics that can read out loud, no problem, but I'm in your boat. Reading out loud is just such a challenge.
Yeah.
So I can definitely empathize with that. Can you talk about some of the technologies that you have found helpful to kind of find the workarounds and find solutions for you in the classroom?
Yeah, well, this whole quarantine thing has actually helped me find like some new technologies.
Oh, wow.
So we're using like our school sent us home Chromebooks, and there's you have to go into like the accessibility thing, and you turn on dictation and I forgot what the other one is. It's like text to speech, I think, and you can just like press that little thing. It stays in your corner of your screen no matter what page you're on. You click that and you highlight like what you want it to read, and it just reads that to you. So I think that's super cool. It can be like your if like your book is online, you can read that using that thing, or like an article you have to read. It makes it easier to take like notes to like go back and forth. And the dictation thing is just like Siri. I like to use Siri too.
Okay, okay.
And also, I've been listening to a lot of books on Bookshare through VoiceStream because I just like the voices better on that, and I like how you can change the colors and stuff.
Okay, so you get more options of the sounds
Yeah.
and okay, very cool. So do you refer to that as ear reading, or do you?
Yeah.
Okay, that same with me, like with audiobooks, like same principle. So if you're just joining us, thank you so much for taking the time. We're with Madalyne. She's gone through the diagnosis of being diagnosed with dyslexia when she was in the third grade, advocacy, some of the challenge she's had with advocacy. We're talking about technology that she uses to integrate into the classroom and make things more accessible. So if you have questions, please feel free to jump on the line and ask. We're definitely want to be a resource here with the International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch. We talked about how Madalyne is also a member of the student panel for Oregon, and they have a mission, you are not alone, and that's just to build awareness around dyslexia and connect with other students that are dyslexic. So let's talk about your strengths. Like, what do you like to do outside of the classroom?
Yeah. So, what I like to do like hair and makeup and stuff like that. And I like to go outside. I like the outdoors. I like to go to the river and like waterfalls and stuff. I live in a small town, so like there's not really many options of like things to like go and do like inside. So like I play sports. I play volleyball and I do track. So like
Okay.
that keeps me busy for a lot of the time. So that's
And
kind of like what I do outside of school.
and Shelby on the line is asking, does your dyslexia challenge you outside of school? Are you finding challenges outside of school with dyslexia?
Yeah, so definitely. I know we talked about this when we were in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the menu thing, how that kind of that
Can you
like
can you shed some light on that story? Because I don't think people fully understand like how challenging this can be.
yeah, so when we went out for the International Dyslexia meeting to Connecticut last year, we had like an adults table and then we had like a kids student panel table, and we were at a like I think it was a pizza restaurant, maybe like individual pizza thing, and you ordered what you wanted and they gave us all menus. And so when the lady came to take our order, the first person ordered pepperoni pizza, second person pepperoni pizza, and then all the way around the table same thing, just because we all just didn't read the menu. It's just an easy go-to thing that we all know is pepperoni pizza. We might have liked something different, but we didn't read it, you know.
Has that happened before, or was that
Oh,
like,
all the time.
do you have any strategies for getting around that, or is it just
I
kind
would
of
I would stick with like the same like easy chicken nugget, cheeseburger, macaroni.
uh, that's awesome. Have you found your dyslexia a challenge with sports at all, or has that been
Um, right and left. that
yes?
that's usually my challenge. Madalyne, go right. I'm running left.
I think I still get confused on that when I'm on the trails and like trying to figure out how to
Yeah.
navigate that. So I can totally empathize there too. Um, so we've talked about some of the challenges that you face with dyslexia outside of it. Have you found dyslexia to be helpful in any way to you? Like, they were a lot of times they refer to dyslexia as a superpower or it's a gift, but maybe
Well,
you could touch on that or how you feel about that.
I don't really find it to be a superpower or a gift, you know. I see all the other people like they can read the menu, they can go right, you know. So that's kind of like you kind of get down on yourself when you see someone else like doing it, like, and you can't really like meet how they're doing it. Like I don't know. I don't find it a superpower.
Fair, totally fair. Do you have any advice, or have you found ways that you are able to kind of talk yourself out of those situations, or like instead of getting down on yourself, figuring out some positive outlets?
Yeah, so I kind of think back to like you're not alone type thing. Like everyone has their differences. Everyone's not dyslexic, but there's tons and tons of things that people have internally going on, and yours just happens to be this. So just kind of know that like you're not the only one with problems, but might be the only one with this problem, and that you'll get through it. You'll be fine.
That's a good outlook to have. So again, if you're just joining us, please feel free to ask questions. We're talking to Madalyne, diagnosed with dyslexia when she was in the third grade. She's talked about her advocacy, challenges with advocacy. Oh, here we go. What advice would you give to a young student who just found out she is dyslexic? From Danielle.
Um, Probably not to get down on yourself. Like I know a lot of times when I was younger, I was like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? You're not alone again. And also like find something that distracts you. Like also make like a routine like when you're doing your homework or your work, like work for this amount of time, like distract yourself for this amount of time. Like all those types of things.
What advice, or maybe not advice is the wrong word here. What would you like people to know about dyslexia, be it teachers or parents or students? What would you like if you could?
Maybe that like it doesn't make us lesser than like the students in your classroom, but it's going to take us more time to do what you're asking us to do, and that even though we do get our B's and D's mixed up, that's not all it is.
I think it's interesting, but it keeps coming up in a lot of our teacher trainings that the Oregon International Dyslexia Association branch does. But it's a 1-to-3 ratio, generally speaking, where 1 hour for a neurotypical student is probably 3 hours for a dyslexic. And I think that gets lost in the translation. And I think you really hit on a crucial point, that it's important for our audience to know that, dyslexia does not affect intelligence or the ability to do the work, but it's just more the extra time that's needed, and the challenges that that come with that.
Definitely. It definitely takes me like double the time to do my homework than it does my friends. And my mom, she tells the story too that whenever my friend came over for like the first time and it was a school night, so we had to work on our homework together. She was done like 45 minutes before me. It's like, okay, this isn't normal.
Did you end up having to finish the work, or how did that?
Yeah, I think I ended up finishing the work while my friend like helped played with my sister or something like that. But my mom was like, okay, like kids do get their homework done fast. What?
It's true. I think I had that experience where I would tell my friends to go play video games, and then I would kind of go finish a paper.
Yeah.
All right, we got another question on the line here. What advice do you have for parents with respect to helping their dyslexic child? So maybe you've found some tricks being in quarantine right now, but
So like, are you asking like how you can help them?
well, maybe let's take it two ways. Let's ask, like, yeah, what are some things parents could do, just in general, to make their dyslexic students' life easier?
I think making sure like if you have an IEP or a 504 or whatever you do at your school, that you have that that accommodation where you can get extra time, and then help your kid with that time management type piece, because it is hard like thinking that you're the only one taking this amount of time to do it. So just find like a routine, maybe like work on it for this amount of time and take like little breaks in between. That helped me a lot, like knowing after I finish this amount I can go do play with my Play-Doh for this amount of time. So like finding what works for you is like another thing. What else? Like, hmm.
What
Me and my mom struggled a lot with the homework part.
I'm sure it's not an easy thing. What about the advocacy part? What about helping the students become self-advocates? Is there anything that you would have advice there for parents or teachers trying
Um,
to?
Yeah, what me and my mom do, like, this is like a simple thing that you can do. What me and my mom do to like spread awareness to like our teachers and like stuff like that is every school year before the school year starts, we make like a PowerPoint of like my strengths and my weaknesses. And that's kind of like gives the teachers a good idea of like what I'm gonna need extra time and help for and what I'm gonna be really like I'm gonna stand out in class. So I think that's just like a simple thing. You can sit down and like you can type and like you guys just kind of like talk about it and you have good communication with that type of stuff. That really helped me, and like sending out to each teacher before the beginning of the year, or maybe like during like an IEP meeting, like go over that. So like just like a simple thing like that really helped me like a ton.
It's really cool because not only are you sharing the information with your teacher, but I think it makes the student identify their strengths. And I think
Yeah,
sometimes as dyslexics, we can get down on ourselves or be super hard on ourselves, and we don't even recognize that we have
yeah,
strengths. We don't recognize that we're good at going and playing sports or being in the
yeah,
outdoors and going with that. So to make students really understand that it's just one aspect of their life, it just happens
yeah,
to require a lot of time.
yeah. It doesn't. It's not all that defines you. There's other things that you're good at.
That's well said. What one question I had for you as we were talking, do you use the statement I am dyslexic, or how do you refer to yourself in that regard?
Yes, I say I'm dyslexic. I don't. What was the other one we were talking about? It was
I think I
I
experienced
struggle with it. Or
this.
yeah, I experience dyslexia. I
Yeah.
don't say that now. I refer to as I am dyslexic because it's not something that's gonna leave me after I leave high school or leave college. It's gonna stick with me for the rest of my life and whatever I'm doing, and it's always gonna be like there, a struggle, and something I'm gonna have to get over for the rest of my life.
Do you find it's a kind of a sense of pride thing, like especially with like the connections that we're building with community, that it's kind of the tribal call of the you are not alone team with
Yeah, I kind of find it as more like I do like when I'm with you guys, but like when I'm at home, I'm kind of like intimidated about it. Like especially around my friends who don't really like understand or get it.
That's so fair. All right. Well, if you're still on the line or have more questions, please feel free to ask. We're talking to Madalyne, diagnosed with dyslexia in the third grade. She's a member of the student panel with the International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch. She has gone through the trials and tribulation of self-advocacy. She has a tremendous amount of strengths and world of knowledge and advice on the topic of dyslexia and others, just being a student in general. Um, Danielle says you are awesome. So
Thanks,
um,
Danielle.
I'm going to leave you with the final word for the audience. What would you like everyone to be left with? If you could, whether it's advice or whether it's just a statement.
um, Probably just like remember you're not alone is what I want to say, but I don't want to say it. I want to be original, but I can't. I just want to say, yeah, you're not alone. There's so many people out there. You just kind of got to find your people. Take the time to like reach out. You know, there's maybe not you might be like kind of isolated to where you are, but there's tons of people out there. I know so many people, and kind of opening myself up to those people made so much more of a difference in my life.
Well, you show such strength. Thank you so much for taking the time. You've heard it from Madalyne. You're not alone, that we all have something we're dealing with. And for those that are dyslexic or people that would like more information about dyslexia, please reach out to the International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch. We're here to help in any way we can. And Madalyne, thank you so much. Thanks for all the work you're doing on the student panel. You guys are tremendous.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.